The sun gilded the inland hills, making Leonardo's winery vineyard shine like green jewels. It was a scene worthy of a movie, but for Helena, that landscape represented an abyss between two worlds, one of luxury and the other of need. She adjusted her simple skirt, took a deep breath, and squeezed the hand of one of the children accompanying her. "Courage, Helena. It's for the little ones," she murmured to herself as she looked at the imposing gates of the estate. Helena was a teacher at the region's rural school. The classroom roof was collapsing, the books were torn, and the children studied on rickety chairs. Tired of waiting for help from the government, she decided to attempt something unthinkable, asking for support from the most powerful man in the city, Leonardo, owner of the winery that exported award-winning wines around the world. At that same moment, Leonardo was observing the fields from the terrace of his mansion. He wore a light suit, a glass of wine in hand reflecting the morning's glow. To his employees, he was a perfect man, attractive, elegant, decisive. But behind that cold demeanor was a closed heart, marked by a past romantic disappointment. "Sir, there's the visitor at the door." The butler interrupted his thoughts. "A visitor? Who?" Leonardo raised an eyebrow. "A teacher, with some children." Leonardo sighed, already imagining the reason for the visit. "Another person wanting to take advantage of my fortune," he muttered. "Let her in. Let's see what she wants." The meeting took place in the main hall, immense, with high ceilings and crystal chandeliers. Helena entered with steady steps, though her heart raced. Behind her, 6 students watched everything with bright eyes. "Good morning, Mr. Leonardo." Helena's voice sounded firm. "I am a teacher at the municipal school, and I have come to ask for your help." "Help?" Leonardo swirled his glass of wine, looking at her with a mix of disdain and curiosity. "And what exactly do you expect from me?" Helena took a deep breath. "Our school is in deplorable conditions. The children don't have a proper space to learn. I have come to request a donation for repairs." A heavy silence settled. Leonardo looked her up and down, noticing her simple clothing, her hair hastily tied back, but also the determination in her eyes. "Always the same story," he finally said. "People coming to ask me for money, as if it's my duty to save the world." Helena felt her face burn, but she didn't back down. "I'm not asking you to save the world. I'm asking you to look at these children." She turned, showing the little ones at her side. "They deserve a chance." Leonardo raised an eyebrow. There was something about this woman, a boldness he hadn't seen in a long time. Still, he kept his tone cold. "You're brave, but bravery doesn't pay the bills." He stood up and stepped closer. "Tell me, why should I trust you? How many times have people tried to deceive me with pretty words?" Helena held his gaze, unwavering. "Because I'm not for sale." The silence that followed was only broken by the children's sighs. Leonardo felt, for a moment, disarmed. That phrase struck his mind like a precise blow. He recovered quickly, returning to his harsh tone. "Very well. I'll think about it. But don't expect miracles." Helena pressed her lips together, holding back tears of frustration. "I didn't expect miracles, Mr. Leonardo. Only humanity." She turned and left with the children, the sound of their steps echoing across the marble hall. Leonardo stayed still, watching her walk away. There was something about this woman that unsettled him, something that shook the certainties he valued so much. Outside, Helena cried silently, feeling the weight of humiliation. The children hugged her, and one of them whispered softly, "Teacher, he's going to help. I know he will." Helena took a deep breath, wiping away her tears. "I don't know, dear. But if it's not him, we'll find another way. I will never give up on you." The next morning, Helena was already back at the school. The peeling walls, the leaky roof, and the smell of mold were silent witnesses to the daily struggle she faced. But seeing the children laughing in the makeshift playground filled her heart with courage. "Teacher, did the rich man get angry with you yesterday?" asked Joazinho, a boy with curious eyes. Helena smiled, though the sting of the memory still hurt. "Don't worry, my dear. The important thing is that we're together. And together, we always find a way." Inside, however, the scene with Leonardo still echoed in her mind. His arrogance, the cold gaze, but also that moment when she sensed hesitation in his eyes. Helena shook her head, pushing the thought away. She couldn't let herself be affected by a man like him. On the other side of the city, at the winery mansion, Leonardo tried to return to his routine. Meetings, contracts, tastings with foreign investors, yet the image of Helena wouldn't leave him in peace. Her phrase, "I'm not for sale," repeated in his mind like an annoying refrain. During lunch with his ex-girlfriend, Victoria, he realized he couldn't concentrate. "Leo, you seem distant." Victoria's syrupy voice cut through the air. "What are you thinking about?" "Business," he replied quickly, trying to disguise his thoughts. Victoria smirked, used to reading his expression. "I hope that business has nothing to do with that daring little teacher who showed up at your winery yesterday." The word "little teacher" was laced with venom. Leonardo raised his eyes, surprised. "How do you know that?" "I know everything." Victoria brought the wine glass to her lips. "And frankly, Leo, you're not going to let a woman like her interfere in our circle, are you?" He didn't answer. Deep down, however, her provocation only increased the curiosity Helena had already sparked. By late afternoon, Leonardo made an unexpected decision. He went to the school. The imported car stopped in front of the rusty iron gate, catching the children's attention. "Look, teacher, the rich man's car," they shouted. Helena, surprised, stepped out of the classroom and found him there, imposing, with dark sunglasses and a serious expression. "What are you doing here?" she asked, crossing her arms. Leonardo removed his glasses and looked at her. "I came to see if you had exaggerated your story." She laughed sarcastically. "I don't need to make anything up, Mr. Leonardo. Come in and see with your own eyes." He entered. The cracked cement floor, stained walls, and broken desks spoke louder than any words. Helena watched him in silence, expecting criticism or irony. But to her surprise, he said nothing. The children ran to him, curious. A little girl with braids took his hand. "Sir, are you the owner of the pretty grapes?" Leonardo looked at her, puzzled. "Yes, I am. I've never tasted a sweet grape. Only those sour ones the teacher sometimes buys." The innocence of the phrase struck him deeply. Helena saw a flicker in Leonardo's gaze. For a second, the cold mask fell. "Are you satisfied?" she asked, trying to maintain her composure. "This is their reality." Leonardo took a deep breath. "I didn't expect it to be like this." Helena stepped closer, serious. "Well, yes. Life isn't always made of crystal and expensive wines, Mr. Leonardo." The silence that followed was thick with tension. There was something different in his gaze now, an internal conflict he couldn't even explain to himself. "I'll think about what I can do," he finally said, before leaving. Victoria, upon learning of Leonardo's visit to the school, was furious. In her mansion, she threw a glass against the wall, the wine spilling like blood. "That daring woman will regret crossing my path," she murmured, her eyes flashing with hatred. "I won't let her take what's mine." Helena, alone in the classroom at sunset, sighed, trying to understand what she felt. Her heart was torn between anger at Leonardo's arrogance and the strange sensation that, behind that facade, there was a man she still didn't know. And for the first time, she wondered, could a millionaire like him truly change? The sun had barely risen when Helena was already organizing the small classroom. She placed patched-up books on a makeshift shelf while the children ran across the dirt yard. She tried to keep a smile on her face, but Leonardo's unexpected visit the day before wouldn't leave her mind. She didn't want to admit it, but there was something about him that unsettled her. The arrogance, yes, but also those brief moments when his gaze seemed to carry doubt, fragility. Helena shook her head, pushing the memory aside. "Focus, Helena," she murmured to herself. "The focus is the children." Shortly after 9, a luxury car stopped in front of the school's rusty gate. The children ran to the fence, curious. "Teacher, come see." "It's another fancy car," shouted Joazinho, eyes wide with excitement. Helena stepped out, wiping her hands on her apron. And when she saw who was getting out of the car, her stomach churned. Victoria, in sky-high heels, a vibrant red dress, and enormous sunglasses, she looked as if she had walked straight off a runway onto that dirt ground. She smiled at Helena, but it wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator ready to strike. Well, so this is the famous school of the hero teacher," Victoria said, removing her glasses and looking around with disdain. "What a picturesque setting." Helena took a deep breath, maintaining her posture. "Good morning. May I know the purpose of your visit?" "I came to offer help," Victoria said, spreading her arms theatrically. "I brought some new notebooks, colored pencils, a few basic things for the children. After all, they're not to blame for living in this precariousness. From the car, a driver unloaded boxes of expensive school supplies, all with brand labels. The children grew excited, running to take a closer look. Helena, however, understood the ploy. It wasn't charity, it was humiliation. "We appreciate the gesture," Helena said, controlling her tone. "But no one here needs to be a stage for your vanity." Victoria raised an eyebrow. "Vanity? Dear, don't be ungrateful. You should thank me for caring about your lucky orphans." The word cut like a knife. Helena felt her blood boil. They are not lucky orphans. They are intelligent, dreaming children, and they deserve respect. Helena stepped forward. "Something you, apparently, do not know how to give." Victoria laughed mockingly. "Ah, what a cute courage. You must have learned it from Leonardo, right? Or are you already trying to seduce the most powerful man in the city to solve your problems?" The words thundered. The children looked confused, and some teachers from the school who had come closer whispered among themselves. Helena felt her face burn, but she didn't back down. "I don't need to sell myself to anyone, much less to him." Victoria narrowed her eyes, venomous. "We'll see how long you can keep that saintly mask. Because I know Leonardo better than anyone, and you're nothing more than a cheap distraction for him." Meanwhile, unknown to either of them, Leonardo was driving along a nearby road. Seeing the commotion at the school, he decided to stop. Fate seemed to be playing with him. When he entered through the gate, the scene surprised him. Helena and Victoria face to face, like two opposing forces, while the children watched silently. "What's going on here?" he asked, his deep voice cutting through the air. Victoria immediately smiled, running toward him as if she owned the situation. "Ah, Leo, I'm so glad you're here. I was just trying to help this poor school." Helena crossed her arms. "If helping means humiliating, then I'd rather you don't help." Leonardo looked from one to the other, feeling the tension. His heart beat faster, but not because of Victoria. It was Helena who caught his attention with that firm stance, that courage no one dared to show him. "Enough," he said finally. "Victoria, leave the boxes. But from now on, I decide how this school gets help." Victoria's eyes flashed with rage, but she maintained her fake smile. "Of course, darling. As you wish." Helena stepped closer, her eyes fixed on Leonardo. "I don't need your pity, Mr. Leonardo. I only want justice for these children." He held her gaze, serious, yet deep down feeling something he didn't want to admit. "Perhaps I'm not offering pity, but an alliance." Helena's gaze faltered for a second. An alliance? What did he mean by that? That night, Helena couldn't sleep. The scene of the confrontation with Victoria flashed through her mind. The insults, the arrogance, the way she tried to make Helena a subject of ridicule in front of the children. But what unsettled her the most wasn't the villain. It was Leonardo. The way he had appeared suddenly, how he took control of the situation, and how, for the first time, he seemed to consider the children's pain. Society. The word echoed in her mind, confusing and dangerous. Helena turned over in bed, hugging her pillow. "I can't let myself be carried away. He's like her. Rich, arrogant, from a world that doesn't belong to me." But deep down, she knew that something inside her was already starting to waver. The next morning, Helena was organizing the students when she heard the roar of a different engine. Stepping outside, she found the imported car parked in front of the gate again. Her heart raced, but she tried to hide it. Leonardo got out, impeccable as always. Linen trousers, white shirt open at the collar, sunglasses hanging from his pocket. He seemed out of place in the simple setting, but at the same time, his presence commanded respect. "You again?" Helena crossed her arms, lifting her chin. "Are you bringing more gift boxes to humiliate me?" A lopsided smile appeared on his lips. "No. Today I came without boxes. I came with a proposal." Helena raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "What kind of proposal?" "The winery has social projects. I always set them aside because I thought they were a waste of time." He looked at her directly. "But you made me see things differently. I want to fund the school's renovation." For a moment, silence filled everything. Helena's heart raced, but she didn't let her emotions show. "And why would you do that? Guilt? Hurt pride?" she challenged. Leonardo stepped forward, his voice low and firm. "Because I believe in results. You have courage, Helena, and I want to see how far it can go." His gaze burned through her like fire. Helena took a deep breath, trying not to give in. "I don't need your charity." "It's not charity," he replied quickly. It's investment. The words hung between them, charged with a meaning that went beyond the school. In the following days, Leonardo appeared several times, accompanied by engineers and architects. Helena watched him direct the workers, always serious, always demanding. Sometimes, their eyes met, and there was a tension she couldn't explain. One afternoon, while showing the state of the library, Helena slipped on a pile of old notebooks. Instinctively, Leonardo caught her by the waist. Time seemed to stop. Their eyes met, so close that Helena could feel his breath on her face. "Careful, teacher," he murmured, his voice deep. "I don't want you to get hurt." Helena stepped back quickly, her heart racing. "I can take care of myself." He smiled sideways. "I've noticed that. But it's not always bad to have someone nearby." Meanwhile, Victoria was scheming. In her mansion, she poured wine into a glass while speaking on the phone. "Find everything about that Helena. Family, debts, secrets, anything I can use against her." Her eyes shone with hatred. "If Leonardo thinks she's going to change me for her, he's very wrong." By late afternoon, Leonardo and Helena walked silently through the schoolyard, observing the first repairs. The children played, laughing, already excited by the change. "See," he said, breaking the silence. "Sometimes accepting help doesn't mean weakness." Helena looked at him seriously. "And sometimes, offering help doesn't mean kindness." They stared at each other for long seconds, the air thick with tension. There was challenge, but also something more. Something neither of them wanted to admit, yet. The city noise seemed different that morning. Helena crossed the plaza with her shopping bag when she noticed the stairs. People whispered, discreetly pointing. One woman even sneered as she walked past. Confused, Helena hurried until she saw the newsstand. There, in huge letters, the headline displayed her photo. "Little teacher wins the heart of the winery millionaire." In the image, Helena and Leonardo were too close. He was holding her by the waist, seconds after her near stumble. The framing suggested intimacy. Helena felt her stomach churn. "Oh my God!" The newspaper vendor, noticing her reaction, scratched his head. "Sorry, Mrs. Helena. I didn't even know it was you. You just sell what comes out, right?" She took a copy with trembling hands. Every word felt like a dagger. Forbidden romance, interest, social climb. At the school, the atmosphere wasn't any different. Some mothers of students approached her, suspicious. "Teacher, is it true? Are you really involved with the boss?" asked one, bluntly. Helena took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Of course not. It's a misunderstanding." But the giggles in the back showed that no one believed her. The children, confused, repeated what they had heard at home. "Teacher, is it true that the rich man is going to marry you?" asked little Juanito, innocently laughing. Helena's heart broke. "Let's focus on the lesson, children." Meanwhile, Leonardo was in his meeting room. The newspaper lay on the table, and he stared at it in silence. The winery directors murmured worriedly. "This could tarnish your image, Leonardo. The press loves to invent romances, but associating you with a poor teacher, it doesn't look good." Another added, "If you want my advice, deny it immediately. Say it was just a courtesy gesture." Leonardo didn't respond. His eyes fixed on the photo revealed more than concern for his reputation. He remembered Helena's gaze at that moment, how she had stepped back, frightened. A dilemma hit him: protect his image or protect her. In the afternoon, Helena was organizing the classroom when she heard firm footsteps in the hallway. Turning around, she found Leonardo standing at the door. "We need to talk," he said, straightforward. Helena crossed her arms, still hurt. "Did you come to see if I'm already ruined?" "Don't worry, Mr. Leonardo. I don't need defending." He stepped closer, voice firm. "I didn't ask for that photographer to appear." "But you can deny it," Helena replied. "You'll clear your name and leave mine in ruins." Leonardo took a deep breath. "I won't deny it." Helena looked at him, astonished. "What?" "I won't deny anything," he said. His eyes shone with unexpected intensity. "If I say there's nothing between us, they'll destroy you. If I accept what the press suggests, at least they'll remain silent." Helena felt the world spin. "Are you crazy? I won't be your shield, much less your lie." He stepped even closer, voice low, almost a whisper. "And what if it's not a lie?" Helena's heart raced. His gaze burned into hers, and for a moment, she almost believed. But she stepped back, resolute. "Don't confuse compassion with feeling, Leonardo." At the school's exit, a surprise awaited her. Victoria leaned against her luxury car, holding the same newspaper. "What a pathetic scene," she said, showing the headline. "The poor little schoolteacher thinking she can become the queen of the winery." Helena took a deep breath. "I don't need to justify myself to you." Victoria smiled, venomous. "But you will have to. Because if you think Leonardo is going to choose you, you're very wrong." She leaned in, whispering into Helena's ear. "He's mine. He always was, and he always will be." Helena didn't respond, but as she returned to the school, she felt the weight of those words. Helena stared at the photo inside the envelope as if it were a bomb about to explode. Her hands trembled, eyes fixed on the faded image. Herself, years younger, holding hands with a boy unknown to most, but not to her. Next to it, a letter written with letters cut from a magazine. "Stay away from Leonardo, or everyone will know who you really are." Helena felt her breath catch. The past, the one she had sworn to bury, was back. "No, not now," she murmured, pressing the photo to her chest. The next morning, she tried to hide it in front of the children, but her eyes betrayed the weight she carried. During reading time, she got distracted by every sound, as if someone was about to reveal her secret. During recess, her colleague Marta approached. "You look pale, Helena. Did something happen?" Helena forced a smile. "It was just a bad night." But Marta didn't believe her. "Are you sure it's not because of that news? Look, don't pay attention to what they say. Here, we all know who you are." Helena nodded, but deep down she knew. The problem was no longer the headline. It was the silent threat lurking in her life. Leonardo, for his part, couldn't stop thinking about her. The image of the teacher confronting Victoria with such firmness haunted him. But what intrigued him most was the look of pain when she hinted that what was between them might not be a lie. That afternoon, he decided to seek her out again. Entering the small room, he found Helena organizing papers, clearly troubled. "Are you okay?" he asked, noticing the tension. She quickly hid the envelope in a drawer. "Yes, I'm fine. You don't need to worry." Leonardo stepped forward, studying her face. "You can't lie, Helena. What's going on?" "Nothing that concerns you." Her voice sounded firm, but the tremor betrayed her. He stepped even closer, just a few inches away. "If someone is threatening you because of me, I want to know." Tears filled her eyes, but she looked away. "I don't need your heroism." Leonardo sighed, but didn't back down. "You don't understand, do you? I've never met anyone like you. You challenge me, provoke me, make me look at myself." Helena's heart raced. His tone wasn't that of an arrogant businessman, but of a man stripped of defenses. "Leonardo," she murmured, unsure what to say. But before the conversation could go any further, a noise in the hallway interrupted them. Helena immediately stepped back, regaining her posture. "I have work to do." He watched her for a moment longer, frustrated, before leaving. Meanwhile, Victoria received a phone call. "Did you deliver the envelope?" she asked, her voice loaded with malice. On the other end, a henchman confirmed. Victoria smiled, satisfied. "Perfect. I want you to investigate thoroughly. That little teacher must have more secrets than she appears to." That night, alone in her room, Helena took the photo out of the drawer. The boy's face beside hers seemed to mock her. It had been part of a chapter in her life she didn't want to remember, a youthful mistake, a mark that could now be used against her. Tears rolled down her face. "I fought so hard to leave this behind," she whispered. Suddenly, she heard knocks on the door. Frightened, she hid the photo under the pillow and went to open it. It was Leonardo. "What are you doing here at this hour?" she asked, surprised. "I couldn't sleep." He looked at her, serious. "I need you to trust me." Helena took a deep breath, torn between sending him away or confessing the truth. Her heart urged her to open up, but fear shouted louder. Leonardo's promise still echoed in Helena's mind. "Whatever you're hiding, I'm going to find out." That night, after he left, Helena remained sitting on the bed, the envelope still under her pillow, feeling the weight of the secret she carried. If Leonardo discovered it, if the whole town knew, her life would collapse. But the worst part wasn't the external threat. It was what she was starting to feel. Every time he approached, every time he defended her or looked at her with that intensity, part of her resistance crumbled. "No, Helena, you can't fall in love with him," she told herself in the mirror, like a prayer of self-protection. At the winery, Victoria walked through the office, her heels clicking on the marble. She handed a thick envelope to the private investigator she had hired. "What did you find?" she asked, anxious. The man opened a folder and showed old photos, documents, and records from a small neighboring town. Helena grew up here, but in her youth she had a romance with a boy involved in illegal activities. It didn't last long. He was arrested, and she disappeared from the town for a while. Victoria's eyes shone like blades. So the little teacher has a dirty past. The investigator nodded. Nothing official against her, but just the association could be enough to ruin her reputation. Victoria closed the folder forcefully, smiling. Excellent. Leonardo will never look at her the same way when he finds out. Meanwhile, Leonardo arrived at the school again, this time with boxes of books and truly useful materials. Unlike Victoria's display, everything was simple and discreet. Helena found him unloading alongside the employees. "I told you I didn't need your help," she murmured, crossing her arms. He looked up, with that provocative smile. "And I said I don't take orders easily." Helena huffed, but she couldn't help noticing how excited the children were as they opened the boxes, fascinated by the colorful books. The sparkle in their eyes was undeniable. "Look, teacher, there are new stories," shouted a little girl, hugging a book as if it were a treasure. Helena felt her heart soften. "I'm doing this for the children, not for you," she said, trying to stay firm. Leonardo stepped closer, his tone low and steady. "What if I told you I'm doing it for you?" Helena was speechless. His gaze seemed to pierce all the barriers she had built. For a moment, the world went silent around them. But before she could respond, Marta appeared, hurrying. "Helena, someone is waiting for you in the teacher's lounge." It was a new envelope. No sender. Inside, only one phrase cut from a magazine. "Secrets never stay buried forever." Helena felt her blood run cold. "Helena, are you okay?" Marta asked, concerned. "Yes, just some nonsense." But the lie grew heavier every day. That night, Helena walked through the plaza when she was surprised by Leonardo. It seemed he had followed her. "You seem strange, different," he confronted her. "That fear in your eyes, who is doing this to you?" She looked away, nervous. "It's none of your business." "I already told you it is." He lightly held her arm, not forcefully, but firmly. "Helena, I can't stand seeing you suffer and not being able to help." Her heart raced. "Why do you insist so much?" Leonardo took a deep breath, looking into her eyes. "Because I've never met anyone like you. Because, for the first time, I feel that everything I've conquered means nothing if I don't have you." Helena was in shock, paralyzed. The silence between them became deafening. The world seemed to hold its breath. She almost gave in, almost let him kiss her. But frightened, she suddenly stepped back. "No, this can't happen." She turned and ran out, leaving Leonardo alone, confused, his heart burning. Sunday dawned clear, but Helena's heart felt heavy as lead. Since the night before, when she had almost given in to Leonardo's gaze, she couldn't stop thinking about the intensity of that moment. The near kiss burned in her memory, and along with it, the fear. If he discovered her past, if he saw the truth, he would walk away forever. She was at the school when she received the unexpected invitation. One of the mothers told her that there would be a grand charity gala organized by the city's elite in support of education. The event would be held at the winery itself. Helena hesitated, but as the school's representative, she could not refuse. That night, Helena arrived simply, in a light blue dress, her hair loose, and nerves consuming her. All eyes were on her, some with admiration, others with disdain. Leonardo saw her as soon as she entered the hall. He wore a dark, impeccable suit, but when he looked at her, his gaze softened like never before. He approached slowly, ignoring the whispers. "You came," he said, almost a sigh. Helena lifted her chin, trying not to be intimidated. "I came for the school, not for you." He gave a sidelong smile, but didn't insist. "Even so, I'm glad you're here." They walked side by side to the table reserved for the guests of honor. But the cordial atmosphere lasted only a short while. Victoria appeared like a storm. She wore a silk red dress that seemed to scream her presence. With a fake smile and a glass of champagne in hand, she approached the pair as if performing for an invisible audience. "What a charming scene," she said, in a melodramatic tone. "The millionaire and the little teacher. A true modern fable." Helena tried to ignore her, but Victoria didn't stop. With a theatrical gesture, she snapped her fingers, and a waiter brought an envelope. "By the way, since we're at a charity gala, I think it's fair to share certain truths," Don't you agree? After all, transparency is everything. She opened the envelope and pulled out old photos. Helena went pale. They were images of her, younger, alongside the young man who marked her past, the same one from the anonymous photo. Our dear Helena, so pure, so exemplary. Victoria raised her voice for everyone to hear. She had a beautiful romance with a criminal convicted of trafficking and theft. What an example for the children, right? The hall erupted in murmurs. Looks of astonishment, poisonous whispers, a few stifled laughs. Helena felt the ground vanish beneath her feet. That's a lie, she tried to say, but her voice trembled. I wasn't responsible for what he did. Victoria laughed, sarcastic. Of course, you were just holding hands, posing for photos. Very innocent, right? All eyes turned to Leonardo. A heavy silence settled, waiting for his reaction. He looked at Helena, serious, his eyes filled with doubt and something deeper. She, with tears in her eyes, barely whispered, I swear, I'm not who she says I am. For long seconds, Leonardo seemed torn. His expression was unreadable. Helena expected condemnation, withdrawal, judgment like everyone else. But finally, he said, Enough, Victoria. His voice sounded firm. This is low even for you. Victoria opened her eyes. You're going to believe her? You're going to ignore the evidence. He took a deep breath, not taking his eyes off Helena. I believe what I see now. And what I see is an honest woman who doesn't deserve to be destroyed for her past. The hall stirred again, but this time in surprise. Helena felt her chest fill with something unexpected, hope. Later, outside, Helena approached him. Why did you defend me? She asked, her voice breaking. Leonardo looked at her, serious but tender. Because, for the first time in my life, I can recognize when someone is genuine. Helena felt tears fall, but before she could thank him, Leonardo extended his hand, gently touching her face. For a moment, the world disappeared. They were a step away from kissing, finally giving in to what they felt. But a shout interrupted the scene. Leonardo, a winery employee, ran toward them, panting. We need you now. It's urgent. The atmosphere at the winery was chaotic. Employees ran back and forth. Phones rang nonstop, and the strong smell of spilled wine hung in the air. Leonardo hurried through the cellar hallways, his brow furrowed. Helena followed closely, still confused by the sudden news. As they entered the control room, one of the supervisors awaited them, distressed. Sir, the barrels from the last harvest were intentionally opened. We're looking at millions in losses. Leonardo clenched his fists. Who did this? We don't know yet, but the records show that someone used the restricted area security code. Helena felt a chill run down her spine. Something about that phrase seemed dangerous. Hours later, when the police arrived to investigate, tension escalated. One of the officers asked to speak with Leonardo privately, but Helena ended up overhearing. We found fingerprints on one of the access doors. They belonged to her. The officer discreetly pointed at Helena. Leonardo's eyes widened in disbelief. That's impossible. The system doesn't lie. Helena, sensing the looks directed at her, stepped forward. What's happening? The officer responded coldly. Your records are at the scene of the sabotage. We'll have to take you in for questioning. A murmur ran through the employees. Some already cast accusatory glances. I would never, ever do this. Helena protested, tears welling up. Leonardo, you know it wasn't me. He took a deep breath, his expression unreadable. Inside him, two forces collided, logic, which urged caution, and his heart, which screamed for her innocence. Let me accompany her, he finally said, his voice firm. If she's involved, I want to be the first to hear it. At the police station, Helena gave her account. She explained she had never been in that part of the winery. However, the officers showed blurry security footage. A woman of similar height and hair appeared entering the cellars in the early hours. That's not me, she cried desperately. The investigator sighed. It may not be, but everyone will believe it is. Helena turned to Leonardo, pleading with her eyes. You believe me, right? He hesitated for a moment, and that silence cut through her heart like a knife. Meanwhile, Victoria toasted alone in her mansion, watching the news from afar. The headline was already circulating. Little teacher accused of sabotaging millionaire's winery. She laughed, satisfied. Ah, dear Helena, whoever plays with fire always gets burned. The next day, Helena was released for lack of concrete evidence, but the news had already spread like wildfire. At the school, she faced distrustful looks. Some mothers pulled their children from the classroom, citing lack of trust in the teacher. "You can't do this," Helena tried to argue. "My commitment is to the children." But the doors closed one by one. Alone in the classroom, she broke down in tears. "They're going to destroy everything I've built." In the afternoon, Leonardo came looking for her. He found her sitting in the empty courtyard, her gaze lost. "Helena," he began, but she cut him off. "Don't say anything. I know you doubt me. I saw it in your eyes." He stepped closer, trying to reach her, but she moved away. "You're just like everyone else, Leonardo. You'd rather believe the easiest lie than the hard truth." "That's not it," he tried to explain. "I just need time." Helena laughed bitterly. "Time is the one thing I don't have. They're already destroying me." Silence fell between them, dense and sharp. The atmosphere at the winery was chaotic. Employees ran from one side to another. Phones rang nonstop, and the strong smell of spilled wine lingered in the air. Leonardo hurried through the cellar hallways, his brow furrowed. Helena followed closely, still confused by the sudden news. As they entered the control room, one of the supervisors awaited them, distressed. "Sir, the barrels from the last harvest were intentionally opened. We're looking at millions in losses." Leonardo clenched his fists. "Who did this?" "We don't know yet, but the records show someone used the restricted area security code." Helena felt a shiver run down her spine. Something about that phrase seemed dangerous. Hours later, when the police arrived to investigate, tension increased. One of the officers asked to speak with Leonardo privately, but Helena ended up overhearing. "We found fingerprints on one of the access doors. They belong to her." The officer discreetly pointed at Helena. Leonardo's eyes widened in disbelief. "That's impossible. The system doesn't lie." Helena, sensing the stares, stepped forward. "What's going on?" The officer replied coldly. "Your records are at the scene of the sabotage. We'll have to take you in for questioning." A murmur ran through the employees. Some already cast accusing glances. "I would never, ever do this," protested Helena, tears welling up. "Leonardo, you know it wasn't me." He took a deep breath, his face unreadable. Inside him, two forces collided: logic, which urged caution, and his heart, which screamed for her innocence. "Let me accompany her," he finally said, his voice firm. "If she's involved, I want to be the first to hear it." At the police station, Helena told her side. She explained she had never been in that part of the winery. However, the officers showed blurry security footage. A woman of similar height and hair appeared entering the cellars in the early hours. "That's not me," she cried desperately. The investigator sighed. "It may not be, but everyone will believe it is." Helena turned to Leonardo, pleading with her eyes. "You believe me, right?" He hesitated for a moment, and that silence cut through her heart like a knife. Meanwhile, Victoria toasted alone in her mansion, watching the news from afar. The headline was already spreading. "Little teacher accused of sabotaging millionaire's winery." She laughed, satisfied. "Ah, dear Helena, whoever plays with fire always gets burned." The next day, Helena was released for lack of concrete evidence, but the news had already spread like wildfire. At the school, she faced distrustful looks. Some mothers pulled their children from the classroom, citing lack of trust in the teacher. "You can't do this," Helena tried to argue. "My commitment is to the children." But the doors closed one by one. Alone in the classroom, she broke down in tears. "They're going to destroy everything I've built." In the afternoon, Leonardo came looking for her. He found her sitting in the empty courtyard, her gaze lost. "Helena," he began, but she cut him off. "Don't say anything. I know you doubt me. I saw it in your eyes." He stepped closer, trying to touch her, but she moved away. "You're just like everyone else, Leonardo. You'd rather believe the easiest lie than the hard truth." "That's not it," he tried to explain. "I just need time." Helena laughed bitterly. "Time is the one thing I don't have. They're already destroying me." Silence fell between them, dense and sharp. The sky was heavy with dark clouds when Leonardo received the call. One of the cellars had partially collapsed. The impact could be catastrophic for the harvest and for the winery's entire reputation. "We need to act fast," he said into the phone, his voice tense, trying to maintain control. Meanwhile, Helena, in her small apartment, received anonymous messages. If you don't do what I told you, Leonardo will lose everything, and it will be your fault. She sat down, taking a deep breath, her heart racing. Victoria wasn't just manipulating her past. Now she was controlling the present situation as well. Leonardo arrived at the winery and found Helena already waiting, though he knew her presence could put her in danger. You shouldn't be here, he said, worried. I can't stay away, Helena replied, her voice firm but her eyes betraying fear. Someone has to be here to make sure nothing worse happens. They looked at each other, the weight of the situation making every second charged with tension. As they supervised the workers trying to contain the damage, Leonardo noticed Helena was distracted, observing every detail with an almost obsessive attention. Helena, watch out, he shouted, running to steady her when she nearly slipped on a pile of debris. The unexpected touch froze them for a moment. Leonardo held her hands, his eyes locked on hers, full of emotion. I can't lose you, he confessed in a low voice. Helena felt her heart race, but she pulled away quickly. I can't lose you either, but that doesn't mean we should give in now. Victoria watched everything from a distance, hidden behind a car, phone in hand. It's working perfectly, she murmured, watching the tense moments between them. If they separate or get distracted, everything will be mine. She sent an anonymous message to the local press, insinuating that Helena was involved in the sabotage. Chaos erupted immediately. As the news began to circulate, Leonardo found himself surrounded by reporters. Leonardo, how do you feel knowing your lover is involved in the sabotage? He took a deep breath, each word measured. Helena is not at fault. You are all being manipulated. But the cameras kept rolling, and Helena, alone, felt the weight of every gaze on her. That night, at the winery, Leonardo finally confronted Helena. You should have stayed away, he said, his heart heavy. I couldn't, she replied, tears falling. If I leave now, he loses everything. Their hands touched again, but this time no one could deny the desire burning between them. Helena, he murmured, moving his face closer to hers. Leonardo, she responded, almost in a whisper, unable to resist. They kissed, a kiss full of emotion, tension, and promise. For a moment, everything around them disappeared. The smell of smoke filled the winery, making the air almost unbreathable. Leonardo ran through the flames, his heart racing, searching for Helena. The intense heat and the chaos of the workers tried to stop him, but he didn't slow down. Helena, for her part, didn't let fear paralyze her. With a fire extinguisher in hand and determination in her eyes, she helped rescue employees trapped inside corridors and the children present during the school's scheduled visit. Helena, shouted Leonardo as he passed through a curtain of smoke. Get out of here. I can't, she replied, her voice firm even as the smoke obscured her vision. The children and the employees need me. He felt a mix of fear and admiration. He had never seen anyone so brave. With a surge of energy, he pushed through the smoke to reach her. When he finally found her, he wrapped her in his arms, shielding her from a beam about to fall. Hold on tight, he shouted, pulling her out of danger. They stumbled on the floor, but managed to escape together. Gasping for breath, covered in soot, they stayed for a few seconds, simply staring at each other. The intensity of the moment, the danger faced side by side, made their hearts beat faster than ever. I couldn't lose you, confessed Leonardo, his voice hoarse. Helena, moved, responded softly, and I couldn't leave you alone. As the winery partially burned, Victoria watched from afar, a triumphant smile on her face. She thought the chaos would bring her closer to Leonardo. This will prove she deserves nothing, she murmured, ignoring the fact that Helena's courage might impress more than any evil plan. But Victoria hadn't counted on Leonardo's determination. He not only saved Helena and the employees, but also ensured the press captured her bravery amid the flames. The narrative quickly began to shift, and public opinion leaned in favor of the teacher. The next day, Helena woke up exhausted but alive, surrounded by the care of the children and Leonardo's attentive gaze. He entered her small apartment with 2 cups of coffee, his hair still disheveled and his face marked by the night's effort. Good morning, he said, handing her one of the cups. Did you sleep? She smiled, still tired. A little. Thanks for yesterday. I couldn't have done it without you. He sat beside her, close, and the intensity in his eyes revealed feelings words couldn't contain. Helena, after yesterday, I realized I can't live without you. Not just as a friend or partner in challenges, but as my life. Her heart raced. Tears of emotion fell. Leonardo. Before she could finish, the phone rang. A messenger delivered a sealed envelope. Helena opened it with trembling hands. It was from Victoria. Inside, just 2 words. It's not over. Leonardo's smile turned to concern. She's not going to give up, is she? Never, Helena replied, closing the envelope tightly. But now, we are together. The city seemed to be holding its breath. After the winery fire, the sabotage rumors, and Helena's courage had spread quickly, Victoria had not given up. She had planned her final move. With influential contacts in the media and social networks, Victoria began spreading manipulated videos, insinuating that Helena had profited financially from the disaster and that Leonardo was involved in illegal decisions to cover up the damages. No one will escape my plan, murmured Victoria, watching Leonardo in the winery, worried and tense. Helena doesn't stand a chance. Leonardo received the first call from the winery's most important investor. Leonardo, if you don't immediately clear up these accusations, we can't proceed with the contract. The cold, professional voice made it clear that time was running out. I know, Leonardo replied, taking a deep breath. But no one will take down the winery. And I won't abandon Helena. The decision was risky. Publicly defending Helena could put not only his reputation, but also the entire business he had built at risk. Still, he didn't hesitate. Helena, meanwhile, took refuge in the school office. Every notification on her phone reminded her that Victoria would not give up. But this time, she was not alone. Leonardo was by her side, reviewing the details of the manipulated videos, searching for a way to prove her innocence. We need to expose her, he said, looking firmly at Helena. Every detail, every piece of evidence. We can't let her defeat us. She nodded, feeling her heart warm with his support. For the first time, Helena felt that together, they could face anything. While investigating, they discovered something unexpected. A former winery employee, manipulated by Victoria, had recorded the videos and sent anonymous messages to the press. With Leonardo's help, they managed to trace the sender. We found him, said Helena, pointing to the digital address. Victoria is behind all of this. Leonardo clenched his fists, his gaze hard. It's time to end this once and for all. The next day, Victoria decided to confront Helena personally, hoping to intimidate her. She appeared at the school, elegant and smiling, surrounded by the cell phone cameras of her accomplice friends. Hello, dear teacher, said Victoria, bowing with false charm. What a surprise to find you here, still alive after everything. Helena lifted her chin, keeping her posture. I'm not afraid of you. Victoria laughed cruelly. You shouldn't underestimate anyone, Helena. But I see you've learned to defend yourself, though not everyone will believe it. Before she could continue, Leonardo entered the school, firm, determined. Victoria, enough, his voice echoed through the hallway, holding his rival's gaze. You won't manipulate anyone anymore. Victoria froze for a moment, surprised. You are defending this teacher? Yes, Leonardo stepped forward. Because she is honest, brave, and stronger than you will ever be. Victoria, furious, realized she had lost the upper hand. As she left, she silently swore she would not forget this defeat. But for now, the game was over. Helena, finally relieved, approached Leonardo. I couldn't have done it without you. He held her hands, his eyes shining with emotion. No, Helena, we did it together. And now, no one can separate us. The winery was calm for the first time in weeks. The flames, the scandals, and Victoria's threats were now part of the past. The sun illuminated the vineyards, reflecting off the wine bottles, now restored and ready for the harvest. Leonardo walked among the barrels, recalling every challenge they had faced. But what occupied his mind the most was Helena. She had become an inseparable part of his life, not only for everything they had been through together, but for the love that had grown between them, strong and unbreakable. Helena arrived smiling, carrying some school documents, but she quickly dropped them to run toward Leonardo. Leonardo, she exclaimed, running to him. He wrapped her in a tight embrace, feeling her warmth. We will never be apart again, he said, holding her face tenderly. Never again, she repeated, emotional, tears glistening in her eyes. Victoria, on the other hand, finally realized that she had lost. Her attempts to manipulate, slander, and control had failed. Leonardo and Helena had united, proving that love, courage, and honesty are stronger than intrigue. You can try to destroy whatever you want, Helena said, looking at Victoria calmly, but you will never destroy the truth. Victoria walked away, defeated, while Leonardo held Helena by the waist. For the first time, they felt the future was secure. In the following days, the winery prospered once again. The fire had left scars, but it had also united the team. Investors returned, and the press shifted its focus, praising Helena's bravery and Leonardo's integrity. The school children received a special visit. Leonardo took Helena to the winery, showing them the winemaking process and teaching about work, perseverance, and honesty. Every smile, every gaze reminded them why it was worth fighting. I never imagined life could be so beautiful, Helena said, taking Leonardo's hand as they walked through the vineyards. Life always has surprises, he replied, smiling. And the best surprises are the ones we share with those we love. On a sunny afternoon, Leonardo organized a special event. He invited all the employees, friends, and family. In the center of the vineyards, an arch decorated with white flowers and aged wine awaited Helena. What is this? She asked, surprised. A place for us, Leonardo replied, kneeling before her. To officially start our life together. Helena, will you marry me? Tears ran down her face. Yes, she cried, embracing him tightly. The kiss that followed was not just a romantic kiss, but a confirmation of everything they had overcome. Victoria, in the background, watched their happiness, unable to interfere. The ultimate victory was not hers, but that of true love. The sunset illuminated the couple, reflecting on the vineyards, the barrels, and the promise of a future full of achievements, joy, and togetherness. Helena and Leonardo were finally free to live their love fully.